Hello. Does your team constantly lose track of things? Maybe wastes precious time searching for information or spends the whole day putting out fires instead of actually getting work done? In this episode, we'll show you how GTD, getting things done principles, with certain modifications, can help teams reduce chaos, stay aligned, and make sure everyone finally knows what they should be working on without, endless meetings and nonstop messaging and interrupting one another. Um, yes, this can be done. And your team can work like that too. Uh, so I'm joined today by my fellow GTD enthusiast and someone who's been advising teams on taking their productivity to a whole new level by one and only Augusto Pinaud. Hello, Augusto.
Hello, Michael. Good afternoon for you. How are you?
Yes, good morning for you. Good afternoon here in Europe. We are in the same. We are recording from the same office, from the same virtual office because we're on different continents. So, um, Augusto, as you know, Nosby, the app I've been running for the last 19 years, was basically created because I tried to figure out how to make GTD more digital. So for me, I took, the principle of, having projects that have tasks, have a star for next actions, like the simple things, how to implement GTD. And this is how my journey started. And how did you start with GTD?
Oh, that's a good question. I I was on the other side. I was very overwhelmed by everything, and my principles from the old Kobe world were failing. So I found a book.
Hmm.
I read the book in the Barnes and Nobles. I read the book, and it was very interesting, but not enough for me.
Uh
So
huh.
what made GTD stuck for me was an old CD, an old program. It was a live seminar called GTD Fast.
Oh,
I
wow.
think those CDs spin by themselves by the end of me learning the process. Okay. They didn't need to go to the CD player. Okay. They spin by themselves. Yes, I'm talking about that old. But that's how I really identify GTD. I was looking for something to allow me to scale where I was because I was exactly on that place that you were describing at the beginning. I was in that place fire, of fire to fire to fire. And after that, I co-host and participate very actively, at least on those early years, on a thing called the GTD Virtual Study Group
Ah,
with
yes, I remember.
Starrett Robinson.
Hmm.
And that's where I moved from GTD for me to how can we really help others implement this? I get that not everybody can program a software like Nosby. Okay, I can't. And not everybody can digest all those problems and find where are the adjustments that you need to do to really make this or any other methodology for that matter work for you. And that's where I found that's one of the things I was doing professionally. And it's how I transfer from being just a user to be an enthusiast to then be a person who work with individuals and teams into how to make this work.
Hmm. Yeah, and uh, for me, there was also like when I started Nosby, it was like building a tool for myself. But then, as we evolved, as Nosby became successful, I had to finally fire myself from the role of of programmer because it turns out I'm not really a good programmer. I was good enough to start Nosby, but not good enough to actually keep developing it. So I hired a much better programmer than myself, and then gradually my team evolved, and this is when we realized that getting things done on your own is a bit different than getting things done together with others. And I even though it does scale, and you can scale these processes, the GTD steps, you can put them into team environment. You have to modify this, and you have to also take advantage, take under consideration that these things are a bit different. Working together with others is a bit different, and especially when we got this from our customers, that our customers were very well organized, busy professionals, and then they started failing, as team members or team leads, uh, and they wanted to introduce getting things done, or the Nosby way of doing things to the team, so that everybody would be on the same page. Because as you remember, like and please quote the thing with bank account. So everybody had their own to-do list. So the thing is that people in the GTD times, when they were just getting organized by themselves, they were very self-conscious about their productivity system. That this
They
is their
are.
this is their productivity system, and don't touch it and don't look at it because it's mine.
Oh, we need to go back to a couple of distinctions. If you see on the evolution, okay, you start really with personal productivity. Okay,
Hmm.
Covey was full personal productivity. Even David Allen was personal productivity, and personal productivity lived on a silo. Okay, like a
Yeah.
grain silo, and this is yours. And I have joked for years that I have a better chance to get some of my clients to show me their bank account than their productivity system. When they are hiring me to help them work, okay, show me your system. Well, but let's talk about this before we go into there, okay? Because people were really protected. But the problem was, if you go to those, the beginning of the 90s when this book came out and this methodology really got very strong, technology wasn't there yet. Even I remember
Hmm.
the first writing or the beginning of the writings from David Allen when he mentioned, yes, I create a context from a cell phone, okay, to calls, to make calls, because now I have a cell phone. When you think about that, okay, in today's day, 2023, 2026, it's impossible, okay,
Yeah.
to think that, okay, context has changed, has varied, has mixed, has this, and technology too. When you go back 20 years, hey, having this conversation wasn't simple. Okay, you in Europe, me here, that wasn't simple. Okay, we don't, that now it's automatic. Okay, when you see the generations that are coming, they don't understand those distances. Okay, you and I grow up with, oh, he lived X amount of miles, X amount of kilometers out of me. Okay, the kids doesn't have that. Okay, I see my kids play with their grandparents who live miles away, okay, in FaceTime, like there is nothing and nothing is happening. So that change, and that change the world of personal productivity. Okay, this is the lovely things of working into a remote home when you need and have a dog who you may not be hearing on the camera who is
Yeah.
asking for attention. This is real life productivity, people. But I was saying that what changed was technology got in the middle. Okay.
Hmm.
And when technology got in the middle, a lot of these things, a lot of these principles change. Some of the basic ones stay there, but some of the other ones, like teamwork, team sharing, completely changed, completely evolved. Okay. It was when Nusby came out in the market, you were very ahead of the world. Okay. In talking about team collaboration, that was at that time, 20 years ago, that was ahead, very ahead of the game. Okay. Today is something that a lot of people talk, and that requires that we change some of the rules of the game. I said personal productivity lives on a silo. Okay, when you talk about organizational productivity, team productivity, now we all need to live on the same silo. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's make it very difficult because in the 90s, in the early 2000s, what made me stronger against you was that I have that productivity system, okay, that I have that waiting list, okay, that I had, in a way, a strength and you were weaker than me. Sorry, that was how productivity was brought, okay? Now we work in a different way. We don't work into what is the weakness that you have, but we work into what is the strength that you bring to the table.
Yes.
And that changed completely the dynamic because the principles of getting things done of GTD hasn't changed. What has got obsolete was the implementation of those first things because the
Yeah, exactly.
tools, no, I don't want to carry 56 folders. Okay.
Yeah,
Everything in my world is digital, but the paper digital principles need to be applied. The tools change. The problems that we face are very similar but very distinct at the same time. And we continue having the same issues. We have chaos, we have communication, we have now too many communication channels. And as I said, as I said, we have gone from a moment where we got excited hearing you got mail, okay, to now having been email, okay, the system of chaos. For most organizations, email is the system of chaos, and they
yeah,
have not yet come into how to make it better.
exactly. The thing is that I remember as we grew Nosby, uh, in the beginning, I was managing people in the same way, kind of. I was communicating with because my team was always remote, so we were always in the different places. So we would send emails to each other, and we would not use shared projects until some of my customers requested shared projects feature in the first Nosby, and only then we implemented the shared projects feature, and then we realized, hey, we can use that as well, and then we started using it too, and then from that, the whole idea that we're promoting now, the task-based communication, came up, but it was like it also was an evolution. Because in the beginning we would also use different communication channels. We would have the same problems as everyone else. Um, but now we do communicate inside of Nosby. So we have shared projects, we have tasks, and then we have comments to these tasks. So this way we communicate in the app, so much so that everybody who sends me an email knows that they might receive a reply instantly, or they might receive a reply in a month. You never know. But if you delegate a task to me, or if you mention me in a task, you are likely to have a comment or response within a few hours, consistently.
And that is one of the things that have changed. The other thing that has changed, and again, coming back to GTD, David Allen had a phrase that I love that he says, it's not that nothing is new, it's just how fast it's new. Okay,
Hmm.
or something on those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what happened. Productivity in the 90s. Again, let's go back. Okay, if you go back to early before the 90s, okay, Stephen Covey told you A, B, C, one, two, three. Okay, can you imagine in the volume of things that you have today? Okay, codify that A, B, C, one, two, three. No. Okay, no, sorry. Okay, that's when GTD came, and the evolution now is that need to be public because, but the problem is productivity to this day, okay, 2026, it's not something that you teach.
Hmm.
Okay. You, Michael, may have teach your kids. I have teach mine. Okay. I heard my kids complaining, people don't know how to use calendars. Yes, because they never were introduced to a calendar as a kid.
Hmm.
Okay, my kids know if that thing is not in the calendar, it's not in my world. And if it's not in my world, I'm not over. Okay, it's not going
Hmm.
to happen. I'm not taking you anywhere. But they know this from a very early age. They have seen NASME, they have seen task-based communication, they have seen all these things, okay, from a very early. But I know many adults, okay, they are my clients, okay, who never, even I have argued, okay, with many business owners that productivity and teach your people how to use their tools is critical for your business.
Yeah.
And we don't see that, okay? We hire people, we kind of train them, and we want them to be productive before we fully train them. Okay. And then after that, the training to transform into an afterthought. Okay. And if we have regulation, then the training is just to check the box on the regulation. But
Hmm.
then we wonder why people cannot be more productive. Well, the problem is we business owners continue looking at training, at teaching productivity as an expense
Yeah.
instead of an asset. The reality is that when you train your people into how to use Nozbe well, how to use email proper, how to communicate to each other, that hour pays dividends forever.
Yeah, completely. But let's start, from the very beginning of getting things done, like because there are like six, seven there are steps to getting things done. But the number one thing is capture. So, uh, um, so the most important thing I think I learned from the very beginning when I read Getting Things Done was that our mind is a crappy place to store things. Is not a place to store information. That we should have this our external trusted system like Nozbe or something else, where you put stuff down. And I'm telling you, whenever I'm trying to take a shortcut and think, oh, I'm going to remember this, I hear it flying out of my ear like it's gone. Like it's completely gone. So no, uh, and then that's why whenever I'm trying to take the shortcut, like in a few minutes I'm already regretting it because I already forgot, because my mind is also not prepared to store because I've already gotten the habit of always writing things down. That's why recently on my blog post on my blog I even wrote again about the 2 minute rule, which is like if you can do something in less than 2 minutes, do it now. um, but the habit of writing things down, I think this was for me the first attraction to getting things done, the first um, reason to implement this kind of system.
You know, the the mind is not for having ideas, it's to for holding them. Is one of the things that David has said for years. And when you understand the capture, okay, and the quality capture, okay,
Mhm.
because we all have been where we said 552, 555, 5555, and you see the phone number and it's needed written. You're like, what is this phone number for? Great. Okay. Or you're right, mom. Okay. Or
Yeah,
you're right, car. Okay. And you're like, okay, I have two, one for me, one for my wife. What I'm
yeah.
trying to put in
What
here?
what did I want to say
So
with the car thing?
that is part of learning, of understanding. I agree with you. Okay. The capture is a game changer. And and as I tell people many times, especially in meetings, I can capture and I capture a ton. Okay. And I tend to use the Cornell method. So I put a line so that way if there is actions, I put them in the left and there is the rest of my notes are on the right. Many times, okay, most of the times, only need to review the actions that I captured. The rest of the meetings are stuck in a notebook, in a digital notebook, and I don't need to see them ever again. That's fine. But that's fine because I have a system that if I catch something, it goes directly to the left, okay, and is captured there. So all that I need to do most of the time is review that left category, and that's it. What I see, and I see this in meetings, and I see this with clients, and it terrifies me every time, is okay, Michael, then you call me on Thursday. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm looking at you like, are you capturing that? And I know the answer is no.
Mhm.
Okay. And I trained for this. And the part of the reason I fight so hard for agendas and emails concluding meetings in some of my clients is that's the only way you are going to capture because you
Mhm.
don't have a system better than this. It is, I talk a lot with clients about micromanaging. Okay. The people in your team who are micromanagers, they are not micromanagers because they are bad people. They are micromanagers because they don't have a system that is better than that.
Mhm.
And that's what has worked for them. But it's your work as the leader, as the business owner, to work with that person to give them a better tool.
Yeah, it's like so for example, that was the always the concept, the idea that in Nozbe it should be really easy to add a task to Nozbe. So from anywhere, like from anywhere or anyhow. And I remember like in one of the designs of Nozbe, we forgot, like in the main, and main menu panel, we forgot to add the plus, button to be, and our customers complained, like, look, this is not speed. I should be able to capture something very quickly, uh,
Yes.
and they were right. But so that's so this is the first good thing. You capture, you put stuff. But in a team environment, what we have realized in Nosby is that we also need dedicated projects, which are not basically projects, but they are basically inboxes for capturing things for our departments. So, for example, we have a project in Nosby called marketing, and this project is really not, it's never ends, like this is not a project to be completed. It's like a bucket. It's like an inbox for our marketing stuff. So whenever we have a new marketing idea or a new thing we want to do in marketing, or a proposal from somebody to collaborate on something, we put it first in the marketing project, and then and this way we can capture the idea, and then somebody else can chime in, they can maybe comment on it or whatever, or and basically everyone sees that we have new stuff coming our way. So I would encourage everyone listening to think about that, to create this kind of buckets, like inboxes, to and teach and kind of encourage people in your departments to capture things that are for the whole team.
What you're describing is that old suggestion box in the wall, and you need to have it.
Hmm.
If Because again, this is not, if you want to really move, the future of productivity, the future of work is human. And you need to find ways to work together. And part of work together is recognize that you have ideas, I have ideas, and other have ideas. Same thing, you know, same thing with the rules of the game. What are the rules of the game? Okay. What is what you are expecting from your team? Okay. Where is that written down?
Hmm.
Because the problem when it's not written down is that it changed over time and it evolved over time, but nobody does. Nobody knows that it does.
Hmm.
Okay. If I said, okay, my expectation as the boss, okay, is that you and I connect every morning at 9 a.m. If that is written, then it's a meeting at 9 a.m., or it's a
Hmm.
connection, or it's a text, or something at 9 a.m. If that is not, that 9 a.m. will start shifting into 9:15, 9:05, 8:55. No, no. Be precise. The most successful businesses, the most successful entrepreneurs that I work with, the most successful small business owners that I work with have very, very boring businesses. It's
Hmm.
not that they are boring, it's that they have the rules to set in place so the things move, but they are all captured. They are all written down. Same thing with the families. I tell the story and, and on something we are going to talk in a little bit. Okay, I tell the story about my son. Okay, my son came from school and he wanted YouTube. Okay, YouTube is better in my house. Okay, you can only get so many minutes of that thing. And he came. Okay, and I was busy, whatever. Okay, and I said, no. And then he went back to inside of the house. My office is on the back of the property. He came back to search for his iPad, came back, okay, and said, the rule said that if I pick the poop of the dog, I get 15 minutes from YouTube. Okay. But that is trust in movement.
Hmm.
Okay, it didn't matter if I was in a bad mood. Hey, man, you're the CEO. Okay, you get into a bad mood, you have problems. All those happen, and people may come to you, especially on a fully remote environment where they don't know. Okay, they don't know that you are having problems. Okay,
Hmm.
and they need to be able to come back and say, "Hey, Michael, hold on." But the rule of engagement says this.
Hmm.
Okay. And to be honest with you, as your employer, I don't care that you're in a bad mood. This is what the rule said. Let's go back to that. But if those are not written down, they are not accessible. Okay. Now the rule is based on the mood that you as the CEO have at that moment.
Hmm.
And it's very difficult to trust and to work based on trust and create a speed because of trust when that can change depending on the mood. And you may be very stable, but we know not everybody is. So those things need to be codified. Okay, why
Yeah.
we're doing this? Not the wall marketing thing that you're, no, no, no. Why really we are doing this? Okay, and what is that first layer? How that first layer is impacting everyone? Okay, and again, that comes or that pushes to that second movement in the GTD, the clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay, because all you can capture everything, you can put everything, okay, dump it, okay, but if you don't get and go to the most difficult part of the job, that is understand what is this,
Hmm.
what that phone number means, what that car that I mentioned means, okay, and that clarifying, I wish to tell you that is very easy. It's to this day one of the most difficult things to do as an individual, as a team, as a family, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Okay. Because you need to make a decision. Do I want to clarify this for me? Okay. And in many of them, you can because you are the only one who are going to deal with this. Or do I need to clarify it for the team?
Hmm.
And that changed completely the game because what for you may be completely obvious for your team people, okay, may not. But that is standard. Are you going to set it up every time? Or are you going to work into set up that in writing? So no, no, this standard was established already. Okay, we just need to live by it.
The,
But that's part of that clarifying. And GTD or the original GTD, it was very easy. I clarify what for me means done.
yes.
Great. When you work into a team, done for me doesn't mean done. So that clarification, it's very, very, very challenging. And in my opinion, it cannot be done in closed silos. Okay. Otherwise, you need meetings of meetings of meetings of meetings that nobody wants ever to do. That's why the silo need to be open. That's why the communication, that's what you go into task-based communication. Because the problem is people can't or you can't expect that I'm going to do 6 hours of meetings and then when I'm going to do the work that you expect me to do.
Exactly. No,
But that's a reality of many people.
the thing is that that's why there was a big shift change where we designed the new Nosby, which we called Nosby Teams in the beginning, but now we just call it the new Nosby because it's just like the new, better version of Nosby, basically. So in the new Nosby, we realized that if we invite people to our world to work together, most of the projects, most of the containers of tasks must be transparent, must be open to everyone. Okay, there are some which have to be, secret. There are some which want, you just want to, there is some financial information maybe that you don't want to share with everyone. Maybe there is some other things, but basically most should be open. This way, when you have this, it's transparent. You don't need so many meetings because people can catch up by just browsing the projects and see what's up, see what's going on. So that's one thing. Uh, Second thing is when I come back to this idea of team inboxes like marketing inbox, programmers inbox, customer support inbox, directors, the management inbox. So we have all these inboxes. But the thing is, when you capture things there, when you put things there, automatically it creates kind of an agenda if you have like a weekly marketing meeting, because then your agenda is basically all these things that you captured to clarify, like to decide what to do with them next. Of course, you might clarify them asynchronously already in the comments basically, but then you can talk about the nuance if you want to. But it's for me, I would recommend this as the first initial version of an agenda for a meeting. We meet together as a department to basically talk through the things that we have captured, and then decide what to do next with them, who's responsible for them, and then let them go. I mean, let them put them in motion or not. But the clarification comes once you've captured, as you mentioned. So this is and that's why really I I love this fact that most of the projects in my company and many companies that are using Nozbe are open are open to the whole team, because like I've seen I've witnessed so many times that thanks to that, sometimes there is a task that somebody who is not basically responsible for this task, or not even engaged in this project much, they can chime in and give feedback. Or me as the boss, if I'm going through projects, I can just basically read what's going on, so I don't have to ask questions, and I can basically very quickly catch up to what's going on in some projects, and make sure that I'm on the same page as the rest of the team. So this and this helps me clarify what's going on in the company.
Oh, and you bring a point that is very important. When you're talking about certain level into the living into the Nozbe ecosystem, the problem is you as the CEO, you as the director, you as the manager, you know, you're running. Okay. And in my experience is 3 in the morning when you wake up and say, this what is happening with this. Okay. In the traditional world, the problem is now between 3 in the morning and 9 in the morning. Okay, you all that you have is stress because you are not going to call the people who will give you the answer at 3 in the morning. Okay, unless it's really a crisis. So this is and I people who work with me will love to tell me or admit that, oh, this only happened once in a while. No, this tend to happen very consistently. When you transform this into task-based communication, it's exactly what you said. At 3 in the morning, I grab my phone, okay, look at that project, look at that bucket, look at that thing, read the content, okay, understand what happened that I may have missed that is maybe causing me this anxiety. Even be able to, at that time in the morning, hey, I need this. Can you somebody find out about this? Can somebody, and let it go. Assign the responsibility and let it go. The problem is you need to have that system, and the team need to believe that is the system. And that's require not only the clarification, again, clarification is key. Okay. But then you go to the next movement and to the next issue. Okay. That is how you organize this. Because you say, okay, we put this inbox, yes. But now comes the issue of the organization. Because
Hmm.
in the organization, you have three massive problems. What you are going to organize as the business, what you are going to organize as the human who is doing that job, and that multiplies times number of employees. Okay. And then what's going to happen in your personal life. And at the beginning of the personal productivity world, it didn't matter because you had a separate thing for your personal and a separate thing for your professional. Okay. The number of people today that have the luxury to say, oh, my personal life doesn't get into my professional and vice versa, it's almost non-existent. And most of the people I know who have separate system doesn't have them because their life don't collapse. They have them because the corporate doesn't let them mix one way or the other. That is different. One thing is when your life really can be completely separate, where you walk out of the office, okay, and you don't need to have another thought about this. And when the company that you work with have everything so locked down for multiple reasons that you cannot use that outside of that building. It's very different. So that organization, it gets challenged. And it's one of the things that I have always loved about Nozbe, because Nozbe allows you to have inside of Nozbe your personal world, your professional world, your team world, and everything in there together, but separate. I
Hmm.
can open, I often said, I my clients don't want to open many of their task productivity tools at 7 p.m. because they don't want to be reminded that they forgot to send the email at 5.
Hmm.
Okay. Nozbe allows you to open this and look and nope, click on the personal and just keep just that. You can make those distinctions very, very easily inside of the tools. That said, you come now with the other challenge. Okay. How do you organize this in a way that it makes sense
Hmm.
to X number of individuals?
Yes,
And the only way that I know is that need to be codified. This is how we play.
hmm
This is why we have projects. This is what the kind of communication. Yes, every project that or every category that we have has a category inbox, and this is what we use, but need to be codified for the team.
hmm
Okay. But why? Because otherwise, people will start adding their own flavor of this codification. And I'm not saying improving. There is a difference between me improving and there is a difference between adding your own flavor. When we improve, is because we think this will be better for everyone. When I add my own flavor, is because it's going to be better for me. So if we are in this conversation and you don't speak Spanish, and I start putting things in Spanish, okay, that's my own salsa. It will work very good for me. I will understand everything. It may not work so well for you. Or if you do it in Polish, please don't, because I will not be able to understand a word. Okay. But that's where those things need to be codified. Otherwise, what you do is create friction. And we as humans are very good at that.
the good thing though is if you have like a shared system like Nosby in your team, and you have these projects and tasks and everything like organized in a way. So even if new people are onboarded, they they don't have to read much of this manual because they can see what's going on, like they can kind of replicate what's going on, like it's like they can learn by doing. They can go to the project and see what's going on, who's communicating like this, why do we have it like this. Um, so so the cool thing is that I mean, we've just experienced this. We hired two new people to customer support team last fall, and they onboarded very quickly because they got the Nosby accounts. They went to Nosby, they started using Nosby, and they were like, oh, I know that how this works. I know what to write here, how to do this, how to do that. So so one thing, as you said, it's codifying, but on the other hand is also seeing how others are doing things and then replicating it, then doing the same things the same way. But of course, what's important, and this is why we have some teams leaving Nosby, is because not everybody in the team uses Nosby. Because if somebody who stops is not using it, the tool, then it stops being useful for everyone. So it's really
Correct.
crucial that you know all people are on boarded, all people are on board basically, and logging to Nosby and checking out the tasks and the comments and all that stuff.
Oh, and it's part of the culture. What is the culture that your
Hmm.
company has? And has nothing to do with not me. Okay. You can go as fast as the system that will support you. Okay. And I go back to what I said at the beginning. Part of the problem I see is we continue thinking that this training is a cost. And the
Hmm.
reality is this training is an asset. And when you treat it as an asset, it produces dividends for you as the business all the time. But you need, as the business owner, as the director in the organization, to change that thinking process, because you can look at this software cost me X. Yes, but how much it produces you on the other side when it's used properly, when your team is really using it. And in order to do that, then that training need to be consistent. Because
Yeah.
at least in my experience, people don't use tools that they don't see the
Hmm.
benefit.
Yeah, completely. Uh, Also, in getting things done, like there is this definition of projects and tasks, um, and David Allen is pretty like kind of strict of what a project is, because for David Allen, project is everything that requires more than one step. um,
Mhm.
and I appreciate this definition, but uh, I am a very pragmatic person. So so I realized that some tasks uh, are like that's that having like every task that requires more steps to be a project would force you to have many projects. It would and would kind of create an overhead of uh, organization. So so that's why in Nosby, when you have a task that requires more simple steps, you can add a comment with a checklist, with a basic checklist, and then you just follow the checklist to get this task done. So you don't have to convert it into a project or make it a project. On the other hand, if a checklist grows and you see that this checklist is very long and then there are many steps and these steps actually require more people, you can always conveniently convert this comment, this whole task to a project. So this way, all these checklist items will become tasks. So we've automated that. But it's really important that you can see this distinction, because over the years I've been fighting with the fact that when people get organized, they want to build this beautiful system of projects, sub projects, sub projects, and sub projects, and then tasks and subtasks and sub tasks and all that stuff. And some of our competing apps offered this functionality, but I've always said no way. Uh, Projects should be a flat list. There are all these projects. You can group projects together in groups, but they're still on this flat list. There is no hierarchy. And the same with tasks. Tasks in projects can have sections, but other than that, it's a one list of tasks. And then if a task needs additional steps, they are small checklist items, but there are no sub tasks. So this way you have less kind of organization overhead, but more motivation to actually get things done.
Oh, and the problem is you need to decide what do you want to do. Okay. In many cases, this project to project, task to task, okay, what produce is complexity.
Hmm.
The more complexity you add into the system, the less productive you are. The more flat that this is, and I tell people, try to explain this not to you, not to the you. Okay, we all have different moments depending how tired you are or stressed you are. Okay, there are moments where you bring to the table brilliant Michael. Okay, and when you bring brilliant Michael, doesn't matter. Okay, you can throw anything at that guy because he will go. Okay, the problem is tired Michael.
Hmm.
Okay, when Michael is tired, okay, brain is not firing. Okay, you're tired. That's the guy that if you throw, okay, all that complexity is like, ah, it's out. Okay, I will see it tomorrow. That's where you lose the
Hmm.
battle. What you need to make sure is that your system is simple enough for that tired Michael.
Yeah.
That tired Michael will look at that and instead of procrastinate, will pick something. And as I said, the problem is we humans love complexity because complexity is like a costume for productivity. Oh, well, I review my sub 20 sub projects and yeah, but did you do any task?
Hmm.
No, but I review them and they're not organized. But did you accomplish anything? Well, I review. Well, okay, right, review and check it. But that didn't move anything of the things forward. It's the same thing when I introduce to clients, business and personal. What are the 3 to 6 things that you guide everything? Okay, what are the 3 to 6 things in the business or in your life that are non-negotiable?
Yeah.
Okay, and I tell the story. I work with a very senior client, and the reason I was working with him is he wanted to leave the organization. Okay, he had 25 years in this organization, and he wanted to leave. Okay. We start working, we start clarifying what are the non-negotiables to this. Okay. And at some point he called me and said, okay, I have the list. I said, okay, let's sit together. Okay. And I look at the list, okay, sum of values. And then one of the things was a surface. And I'm looking and said, hold on. You earn plenty of money to buy a surface. So that's what is the issue. And I say, oh, I am in a point in my career where I am not willing to have a crappy PC. So I want a Surface and I want a new one every year with the pencil that I can write so I don't need to carry notebook and everything else. Okay. And he went, okay, in the C suite looking for a job. And his contract has in writing that he was allowed to buy two servers a year. That was part of his package negotiation. Okay. But that's when you need, and it may sound silly, but for him was that important. Okay. I had a story, many stories like that with my clients when we work into what I call strategy.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it's not about the task or the project. Sometimes it's like, hold on, and let's strategize this. But
Mhm.
in order to do that, you cannot have 100 sub things hiding there because you missed the vision.
Mhm.
You only have seconds of attention when you look at your list.
Yeah.
And if you need to look three levels down, that task is dead.
Mhm.
Same way as I recommend clients and people, you need to put on your calendar every other week, okay? Low priority meeting, okay? You're not meeting with anybody other than you. What you're going to do in that hour, okay, is look at your system, okay, shake it out, and look what is the low priority things that are there that you are never going to do
Mhm.
and take it out. Okay. Or get it done or decide, you know what? I'm never going to change the bulb in the thing because I don't care. That's great. But if you don't do that, okay, what happened is that thing, okay, make your system less and less and less efficient because you don't know your brain, as we said at the beginning, is when if you don't capture, it will not remember you at the right time, but he remembers that you
Mhm.
someday write that you may want it to clean the bag who has the extra bags that came from the groceries. Okay, we all have those. Okay, we everybody who's listened to this has a bag. Okay, where every time you come from the store, you put all the other used bags in there because maybe you can use them someday.
Mhm.
Okay, we all do it. But there is a moment in which that bag is very useful, and there is a very fine line in which that bag now it's a mess.
Mhm.
And you capture, oh, purge the bag thing. Great. But that thing has a zero priority in your world. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't make the point to clean them up or decide, you know what, I'm sloppy and I will never clean that thing. That's great. That's a decision too. Being sloppy and not do it is a decision too.
Yeah.
And it's a valid decision. But if you leave it in the system there, okay, even if you do a review and every Friday you come and say the bag and you don't do anything about it, then that produced. And as I mentioned the bag, I can tell you your junk email. Okay, I can tell you the emails newsletter that you subscribe, and every time you see it, you say, "Oh, I don't want to read that." Okay, all those things need to be clean and purged.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah. So that's why this, and I always encourage, like another thing that we have struggled selling Nozbe to businesses is because uh, many business owners, when they invest in a system like Nozbe, uh, they already want so many features and so many things. So not only the hierarchy of projects and sub projects and subtasks and all that stuff, but it's funny whenever they do and they leave Nosby and they come back after a few months saying, actually, we want to come back because the other system seemed better, but it was just too complex to use. But also it's like we want the waterfall thing, and then we want to some other strategic whatever, we want some charts and we want some Excel sheets built in and all that stuff. So people very often, um, they when they want to organize, they just go overboard, where
Mhm.
it's always good to like learn by doing. Like, so for example, the same with, we have tags in Nozbe. So tags can be used for many things. They can be used for context, like in GTD. So for example, a tag for when, where, or which tool you'll use to get the task done. They can communicate if urgency, for example. You can have urgent tasks with a urgent tag, for example. You can have you know many things using tags. But again, the idea is that once you start using it in a team, you start learning which tags are useful, which are not, and you can always change how this thing works. And I think it's also very important that the system grows with your team, not as your team grows only, but also as you start using it and start, getting more serious and getting, the organizational level to a different level. Then it makes sense to customize the system a little bit more, add tags, add checklists, and I do several things like this. Um, but I feel that very often people, especially people in managers, they want from the get go to have a very complex system, and then they want others to follow suit. Where people basically, if they already add tasks and add comments to your tasks and to their tasks, you've already succeeded, because there is communication in tasks, communication where something is actionable, and there is a high chance that this thing will get done because there is somebody looking at it.
Mhm. And then you mentioned context, and context is something very cool for the personal world. Okay, as I
Yeah,
mentioned, I joke when David Allen said, "Oh, I create a call list because now I have a cell phone. I can call from anywhere."
yeah, yeah.
And for me, it was the same. I have the online, the offline, because I love to work. There's nothing I love more than grab my laptop or my iPad and run. But with technology, there was a moment that context transformed into at anywhere. Okay?
Mhm.
I can sit right now anywhere in the world and make a phone call, a video call, and there is nothing that will stop me other than preference.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, do I want to fill this complex Excel sheet on my phone? Probably not. Okay. But it's not because the phone doesn't have the power to do it. It's just because I don't want to do it in this screen.
Yeah, the convenience. Hmm.
It's convenience. And that's important to understand with this task.
Hmm.
It's about how you maximize this task inside of your team. So,
Hmm.
and how you allow the people to be creative and give them that. One of the things that I argue the most is you want more speed. You are never going to get more speed as a business owner unless your team trusts that they can go fast.
Hmm.
And you need to build that trust. But that also means that if I create a tag that is called brain dead, I need to feel, okay, that you, my boss, are not going to look at that and say, oh, this guy has a brain dead category. Okay. I don't know. Well, because that's important. You
Hmm.
need to build that culture. So that is okay.
Hmm.
Otherwise, oh, if you want it to be serious, so I just put important, very important, critical. Okay, that's fine. But then understand that my brain will not work with those three categories. So I will need to find ways to reorganize so I make it work for me. And if you don't allow me to do that, okay, don't ask for the trust because you're already not allowing, you are not trusting that my brain dead category works well.
Hmm. Uh, Augusto, I think we should before we talk about engage, like really doing the tasks, because this is what this is our next step. Let's talk about accountability. But before we do that, I want to take a break and thank our sponsor, meaning my app Nosby, and just I'm going to just play a video of one of our users uh, uh, engaged with the software and saying uh, how they experience Nosby. So just give me a second. There we go.
To, co prostotą i minimalizmem mi bardzo odpowiada, to odhaczanie tych zadań.
Nie mogłem znaleźć dobrego narzędzia dla siebie i
Oh, I thought I had English version of the clip, but I don't have it. Augusto, let's make an ad break for something else, and let's talk about your new book that is coming up.
Oh,
So I'm going
that's
to
our
show
fun.
to people who are watching instead of just listening. There is the cover of Augusto's new book. There we go. and it's called "The No Email Guide to Nosby." So, Augusto, tell me about the book. Tell me why you wrote this book, and uh, when more or less it's coming, and then what are you expecting out of this book?
Oh, the book is coming at the beginning of June. The premise of the book is based on, I believe, the future of work is human again. And I've been talking in this show about what happened in the 90s, what happened before. Okay. And we got very good with technology, but we disconnect, we unplugged the human factor. And with AI coming as it is and strong as it is funny because we hear, well, AI will replace the humans. No, AI will not replace the human in the same way that nothing has replaced the human. Revolution, industrial revolution didn't do. We are going to need to evolve, yes, but we need to come and understand that things are changing. As I said, the future of the work, in my humble opinion, is human again. Okay, we need to stop managing email and start managing energy. Okay, not only for me as the business owner, for my team. Okay, for too long, we have been mistaking productivity for progress. Okay,
Hmm.
and as I we said early, okay, you created 7 levels because, oh well, that's no, that didn't give you productivity. That didn't give you, it gives you an idea that you were productive because you spent 2 hours organizing that, but you really didn't make any progress. What we need is to understand how to interact with the world that we have, how we are going to create trust, how we are going to communicate better. We need to get out of the communication trap. Email was incredible when it came out. Okay. But today, email kills everything: the speed, trust. Okay. Nobody wants to use it. We need to go back to task based communication. We need to get out of our silos and understand that it changed. Now, this is not about what is the weakest link or what makes me stronger. It's about what makes us stronger as a team. Who had the quality that I need next to jump?
Hmm.
I talk in the book about the three layer category where I mentioned this before. Why we're doing this? People don't want to go to organizations anymore if they don't know what the organization did. Okay,
Hmm.
I want to work with Nosby, but I want to know what Nosby is really about, not the marketing. What is really about? What is every morning when we connect? What is this about?
Hmm.
And I tell my clients when they ask me, "What is yours about?" Okay, I'm here to correct problems, relieve suffering, and improve human conditions with people and productivity, and help them create systems that can replicate that. Okay, leading. We need leaders. AI will take a lot of work out of our hands. Yes, we'll do. But now we need who is going to lead this AI revolution. Okay, because a micromanager will never survive in this world, and we need to save them. How we're going to create into these systems the SOPs, and how we're going to create systems that can replicate that. Okay, we need to understand that
Yeah. We have lost Augusto for a second here. Let's hope he reconnects. In the meantime, I'm gonna again recommend the No Email Guide to Nosby. It's gonna be launched like in a month, and I am right now reading the initial version of Augusto's book. And the first, I mean, the final draft, and I am about to prepare a forward to the book. So I have things to do. Somebody created tasks for me for that.
exactly.
So so I already have that on my Kindle. I have the Kindle version generated by Augusto, so I'm reading right now his final draft. I can't wait to share this book, in June with everyone, because again, this is something that people don't realize, that in my company and in many of our clients' companies, of Nozbe customers and Nozbe users, uh, they stopped using email internally. They use email still with outbound, to talk to people from outside of their organization, but inside their teams, they're not using emails anymore. They're communicating through tasks. They're communicating in comments, in tasks, in projects, the way the God intended, and and not through email.
I got this correct, but there is one thing in the book that ties very well with this accountability we are going to discuss. And I said, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And that's when a tool like Nusby makes a difference. Okay. You can aspire as the owner, oh, we want to go this. That's great. The problem is, or the question is, do your team and you have the systems to really fall at that level?
Exactly. So okay, so let's go jump in back to the episode, and again, I'm just going to show the cover of the book because I really like the cover. It's very nice. There we go. No email guide to Nusby. So now back to the show. Accountability or responsibility. The cool thing, English actually, I talked earlier on the Polish show about this, that English has two words for it: accountability and responsibility. Accountability is a softer word. It doesn't mean that you're responsible for this, and if you don't do it, you're gonna die or you're gonna be punished. Accountability means that you're like kind of taking care of it, and I think it's important in any system of collaboration to make sure that you know who's accountable for specific task or specific project, because if you don't know, like, then nobody is. And it's fine if nobody is, but it's worse if you say that Augusto, Michael, and Magda are all responsible for this task, because then neither of us knows really who should
Neither
take care of the
is.
task. And as you know from my history, like I'm Polish. I was raised in communist times in Poland, and communism meant everything belonged to the people. So everything belonged to everyone. So everything belonged to no one. And
No.
the same thing applies to tasks and projects. You cannot, impose communism in tasks. You have to make sure that you know who's responsible for what. That the task and project states clear. Okay, this is Augusto's task. He's accountable for this. He's going to take care of this. This is Michael's task. This is Michael's project. So this way, you know who's the go-to person, you know who to ask, you know where to go, you're not confused, and nobody on the team is. So it's really like the accountability is really critical also to build trust in the team, right?
Oh, and it's one of my favorite features of Nusby is you cannot put Augusto and Michael and Magda into the project. You need to choose. Okay, choose which person is going to be, because you cannot the three of them. You can change it. You can go from Michael to Augusto and back, but you cannot put more than one. And I think that's very important, because come back, as you were saying, in Polish, in English is two words, in Spanish is one. Okay, accountability doesn't translate to the same as responsibility. There is no, but it's what I see is coming back. If you can clarify and organize, it's very hard, if not impossible, to be accountable for anything. Okay, I said the story of my child, and the story I tell in the book, and when he came to me and said, "Well, but the rule says that if I do this, I get," great. Now, who is the accountable in there? We have a system, for good or for bad, okay, that put the accountability in the right place. He came and said, "Hey, I did my part. Now, your part is that according to this written rule that you're going to give me my 15 minutes." Okay, but that put very clear who has that. Okay, if you don't have it that codified, you don't write it down that way. Okay, the answer could have been not today, but the rule didn't say anything about today, or me being tired or busy or in a bad mood. It's irrelevant, the conditions I was. That's what make the difference. And the difference, I love examples of kids, because it's simpler to translate to team people, because adults look at the kids as a much simpler, but it's the same thing with your team. Your team need exactly the same clarity. If you said, you know what, I'm going to upgrade your working device every 7 years, okay, then that need to be codified somewhere. Or you know what? No, every 3 years I let you pick, okay, which poison you want. You want to have an iPhone, you want to have iPad, you want to live on Android. Great. But where is that codified? Because otherwise, what happened is there is no accountability.
Mhm.
And the moment the accountability is missing, the trust gets broken.
Mhm.
If I emailed you, okay, or you said on the break, okay, you're going to write the foreword of this book, great, okay. If it comes July, okay, and I like, "Hey, Michael, how about the foreword of the book? Okay, because it's been 60 days already, okay, and you told me, oh well, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Well, then are you being accountable or not accountable on this? Okay. Or responsible, whatever word you want to use. But the problem is, if that is the case, okay, the moment the 60 days happen, that trust now gets hurt. Okay. But that's the same thing that happened with your clients when you tell the client, I will respond to you at 5 p.m. Okay. And it's 9 a.m. the next morning. And the client is like, is this guy going to respond to me or what?
Mhm.
Because it's not that you have the answer. You know, David Allen used to say, renegotiated agreement is not a broken one.
Mhm.
If I tell you I'm going to give you the information at 5 and I call you at 4:50, you say, Michael, I don't have it. It's not going to be on my hands until 10 a.m. tomorrow. As soon as I have it, you will have it not later than 11 a.m. Okay. That is not a broken agreement. That's a renegotiated one.
Mhm.
And that is accountability as its finest,
Mhm.
because you are not wondering what happened with. You know exactly where it is. You may not be happy with a thing. That's a different discussion. Okay. But there is no holes. People know what is happening.
Yeah, and the thing is, for example, like practically, also what can be renegotiated is also who's responsible, as you mentioned, for the task. So, for example, I create a task for Magda, saying, we have to prepare this podcast about GTD for teams, and then she can say in the task, she can say, um, yeah, but. I think you need to contact Augusto so she can delegate the task back to me. So this way, I'm responsible for the task now because I have to answer and I have to, reply to her. So we call it a task ping pong, and very often
Yeah.
this is what we do. Like we are not attached to the fact that the task initially was, for Magda, if she cannot continue without my input. So very often, instead of just mentioning me in a task, she just delegates the task back to me. I reply, I give my feedback, and then I delegate the task back to her. So I do the ping pong back, and then she completes the task when she's ready. So we like it also because it makes also work more playful because you do the ping pong, of
Yeah.
tasks, and this is also fun. Um, so this is what we do, um, and I think you know. uh, and engaging, we'll talk about engage now, like how to engage with task, how to do the task. Like doing tasks should be also fun.
But you see, and let me stop you there, but because there is something important here. Okay. That ping pong can happen when you have clarity
Mhm.
and the things are organized. Because otherwise, okay, if I don't do that, okay, and you delegate, and in your mind, this is out of my world now, okay, when that gets delegated back, okay, you're like, what is coming back to me? No, 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 no. I'm already done with this. But when you feel that is a lack of clarity of what is done. No, no, done means the podcast is recording and out. Okay, the podcast is published. That's done. So if everybody understand that's done, then everybody understand that thing may come back and forward and we can play ping pong. But if what I understand is no, I delegate the task and now I'm done, okay,
Mhm.
and I ignore the team and I even cross that project out of my list, okay, as you will have done on the old days, then you lose that possibility of the ping pong. You lose that possibility of the accountability. But additionally, you create a problem that now the person you delegate this task, when it gets locked, when he gets stuck, when he don't know how to get rid of it or do the next step, it's like, okay, but he already knocked it down. What I'm going to do with this now? How I'm going to solve this problem? So you create another problem. And that is where people need to be clear. Yes, one person need to be accountable,
Mhm.
but you need to be open, okay, that communication happens so the project can move. Because if instead of what that ping pong game you described, the other person said, okay, I am not going to bother Michael, so I'm going to try to contact Augusto, but I don't have Augusto's contact information. Okay, then how I'm going to do? Now you are adding pieces that is delaying this project.
Mhm.
Okay, and this happened day in and day out in most organizations. Why? Because I don't want to call Michael and tell them, well, or bounce the task back, or call him and say, can't call Augusto. I don't have the phone number. Okay. Why? Because I don't want you to know that I can't solve the problem. Why that? Because it's not clear enough. There is not enough clarity. And accountability is look as if I don't know how to do it, then I am not competent. The
Mhm.
difference when you do task-based communication is that accountability can change because it has nothing to do with competence,
Yeah.
has everything to do with speed and trust.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not bouncing the task back to you because I can't solve it. I'm bouncing the task to you because you are the better person to solve that problem the fastest and the easiest.
Yeah. So uh, the thing about getting things done also, what I don't really like is that um, um, it's not push, but it's pull. So you pull a task, you decide which tasks you're going to engage with. But people think that because in Nozbe I can delegate a task to someone, I'm pushing the task on them. And actually, when you look at hashtag Nozbe history, in the the first version, the Nozbe Classic, in the first version of Nozbe, that was the case. So if somebody was delegating a task to somebody else, uh, the task would show up in this other person's priority list. And it was just a simplification, an oversimplification, just to make it very simple. And I, as you know, one of my values is simplicity, so I wanted to really make it simple. But later what we realized is that, okay, we can do it like this, but usually when you look at how people work, so if I'm working on something and you want to delegate a task to me, you would come to my office and you wouldn't and you would put the task that you want me to do in my inbox, so in the place that I have here on my desk, instead of putting it on my keyboard saying, Michael, you do it now. Because then you would interrupt me and you would annoy me and you would just try to impose your priority on me. That's why in the new NOSB we have the distinction of the view of incoming and priority. So incoming is stuff that's incoming. And to give you an example, I today in the morning when I woke up, because yesterday I was busy with something, so I didn't clean the incoming completely yesterday. So today in the morning I had 40 items, 40 tasks in incoming. And for many people, this might seem overwhelming, but for me, it wasn't. It was just I had to review all these tasks and decide what to do with them, decide which I should do today, which I should do later, which I should not do at all, which I should delegate back to somebody and just give feedback. So very quickly, I got rid of these tasks. I pulled the tasks from my incoming system and decided which ones I'm going to engage with and which ones I'm not going to engage with. And this is, again, this gives me this peace of mind that nobody can really basically throw stuff on my keyboard. Everybody can just delegate stuff or mention me or whatever, and then I get to decide what I do with it next, how I respond to it.
Well, and that is a very important thing. And again, I agree with you. NOSB will not give you, oh, I delegated, so now that's in your keyboard. I love that analogy. But it coming to engage change. Okay. And they don't understand, four things: context, time, energy, and priority. That may be a priority, but the question now is the right context, right time, right energy.
Yeah.
As we are doing this and we're recording this, yeah, the devices around me are, lining up, lining down. Great, things are coming in. The problem is, where are they coming in? Because you said something interesting. In the old days, you come to an inbox. Before email, okay, somebody will put a little piece of paper in your inbox. The problem now is that they got email, WhatsApp, Telegram, text messages, and everything else. And you need a funnel to organize all that input into one place. You cannot decide. If you have 10 tasks in one software and 10 tasks in your email and 10 tasks in Nusby and then some in Telegram because that's how you communicate with your wife, okay, the chances that you are going to be able to engage and do the work are minimal. Why? Because you cannot make the evaluation 10 times. When I wrote 25 tips for productivity many years back, there is a chapter in which I tell people, when you are on crisis mode, okay, grab an index card, a 3x5 card,
Yeah.
and look at all your things and pick three. Okay. And when the fourth one come in fire, you don't need to evaluate against the whole system again. You evaluate that fourth one against these three. More important? No, they need to wait. Okay. Because again, it varies. As I said earlier, if you are, relax, Michael, okay, it doesn't matter what you throw at you. Okay. You
Yep.
will get it done. Okay. But if you are a stressed out Michael or tired Michael, again, there are two different Michaels, it's different. Okay. What you can do, what you can digest, what you cannot. But you still need to get the work done. And you need to have that system that allows you to look at the task. If you ask me Friday at 4 p.m., oh, we need to review the P&L of the company. No. There is no P&L at 4 p.m. Okay? I'm brain dead, and I cannot. This 2 + 2 may not be 4 at 4 p.m. in the Friday because
Yeah.
I'm tired. But so that need to be. But you cannot do that assessment when you have things all over. They need to be in a place where you can think, where you can look at them and say, yes, this has priority over this. This has no priority over this. You need to know what you are not going to be doing in order to do that other thing.
Yeah, completely. And so in Nozbe, for example, we introduced, as I mentioned, the tags, and then there are like many ways to filter the tags and filter, tasks and projects. So you can find which tasks are good to engage with right now, based on how you feel, your energy, as you mentioned, which ones are good for Friday. I actually, because we have. We have the mighty Friday. The Friday is different in Nozbe. So we even have like a dedicated reminder, like remind me on Friday. So this is something for the weekly review, which we'll talk about in a few seconds. But thanks to also the fact that everything is in projects and tasks, the cool thing is that for you to choose which tasks to engage with, you don't need additional meetings right now. You don't need additional status meetings to like Augusto, what should we work on now? Like, which should I take now, or which do you want me to take? Like, we clear it out in the tasks themselves, and we pick the tasks again, pull, not push. You pick the tasks yourself, saying, okay, I can deal with that. Oh, I can do that. So you don't need these additional, coordination meetings that many companies have to make sure that who should engage with what.
Oh, and it is, as I said, that the email is a culture of chaos. Meetings may be the culture of distrust and lack of speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Because for every meetings are one of the most expensive things you can do in a business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You bring 3 to 5 people, okay, for an hour or so. Okay. That means you're spending all that money, okay, in many cases without an organization, without a reason. We're just, blowing blowing the money, making, I see clients, with meetings, 30 people in this meeting. What is the cost of this meeting?
Why would you need 30 people for a meeting?
Well, in agreement with you, but I've seen that. Okay,
Mm.
where what is the cost of a meeting where you bring 30 people?
Yeah.
Okay, and so not only that, what is what you want? You want the work done, or you want to discuss about how this work should be done?
Hmm.
And what I see more people is on the later, discuss how this work will be done, but no progress really made, right? Because we are discussing, well, the problem is you need to define as an organization, what is what you want,
Hmm.
okay? Productivity is not meetings. Meetings are not productive. They are not productive. They will never be productive. Okay. The moment you include that I think it's Bezos who said they need to feed, for a meeting to be effective, you need to feed 1 box of pizza, and you need to be able
Yeah.
to feed the people in that meeting. If you need more than 1 box of pizza, you're out. And it's true. Hey, you want to bring the team to an activity? Then that's not a meeting. Okay, let's bring the people together, share a meal, whatever. Okay, have a party, doesn't matter. But then don't call it a meeting.
Hmm.
Make a distinction between what will bring progress to that, towards that goal, towards that layer one, or not.
Hmm.
But and as you said, it's not that, oh well, so your company doesn't meet. No, yes, we meet. Okay, like, but we meet for very most of the conversation happens outside of the meeting.
Yes.
We come to final conclusions, really. And it's, same thing. I'm going to bring another example for the kids, okay? Because it's the same thing. We don't do my conversation about responsibilities. All parents have them, okay? You need to do this and you don't do it, okay?
Hmm.
That's how the dynamic works. That's how it works in my house until my mother showed the shoe, okay? And you knew that you didn't finish the task, you are in trouble, okay? And that has simply evolved. What I learned with task-based communication is I start communicating about those things in the system.
Hmm.
Okay? I don't go and look to his room and say, hey, you haven't done your responsibilities. I communicate via text in the system.
Hmm.
Okay. What that produces is that our annoying conversations as parents are done in the system when there is no emotion.
Yeah.
That allows to have very cool and real communications outside in person. That principle applies exactly the same with your team.
Yeah,
If I
exactly.
go exactly the same, if I go to you, okay, and all the communication of where is this task, or I have this, or hey, I will change this color from that color that you picked to a little bit darker. Let's try it. Okay. Now, when you meet that person, you can stop and be human again. Okay. The problem is if I go to you 20 times, okay, as your boss, okay, the time 21 that I show up in your door, like, again, you are not letting me work, dude. Okay, when you are going to let me work? If instead I put all that communication through the system, the moment I approached you, now you're expecting something cool. David Allen had a story that I loved, and he was sharing that he was in a hotel room with his wife, Catherine, okay, and they were both working side by side, okay. And he said, "Oh, I needed something from Catherine, so I sent an email that, okay, it was the time where email was useful, okay." And he said the email went from the servers to Ohio, California, change back to the cloud, back to Catherine computer in front of me. Why? Because that communication did not require an interruption,
Hmm.
require just to get her into her system. The problem is we forgot about that and we think, oh, it's communication. No, 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 no. There is communication that is critical. Don't send an email, call me. Okay. But there's most of the communication can happen in the system. The problem is you need to trust your team that your team will get the work. And I go back to what I said at the beginning. For that, you need to train them. You need to know what are the rules, what you expect. You cannot hope. Okay, hope, by the way, as I said, only work in Star Wars. Okay, I'm a big Star Wars fan, but hope only work in Star Wars, not in business. You need to have better than hope.
Hmm. Yes, completely. Um, it, so that's that's why uh, like when we have meetings for Nosby, when we design Nosby, so the the whole proposals, like all the the whole agenda basically are tasks. In a project, we have the like the next design meeting um, uh, uh, section, and in that section we have all these tasks that we want to discuss on the meeting, and the discussion is not, unlike most companies, it's not about somebody describing the feature that we want to discuss because we've already read the whole thing. No, the meeting is we go one feature after another and we discuss the new ones, the things that we're missing, the things that haven't been written up, the things that you might have forgotten when you prepared the feature. We talk about the new ones. And then after the meeting, we take notes in these tasks to make sure what's the next action, what's like what we should do with it, how we should progress. So I remember into our design meeting, we have the same people. We have the same 6 people who are taking part in this meeting. Actually, the same 5 people now. So we are 5 people. We meet together, and the thing is that sometimes we invite somebody else who prepared, for example, a new feature or had a proposal for a new feature. And I remember once we invited someone from our customer support team. They showed up on the meeting and they were like, so I would like to describe the feature I'm proposing. And we were like, oh, no, 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 you don't have to describe to us anything. We read the description, we know what the feature is about. We have some questions. And they were like, because they were prepared to present,
Right.
and we were like, no, 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 you stop wasting our time. We're like, we don't need your presentation. We have some questions about your feature, so we want to ask them now in this meeting, and that's it. And then you're free to go. Like, so it's like it, that's why then the meetings are very efficient. And that's why, for example, for our marketing department, we have just one marketing meeting every Tuesday at 9 a.m. And this meeting is usually 1.5 hours. And on this meeting, we first are just people, just talking about stuff, what's going on in our lives, so that we feel like we're part of the team. And then we discuss some of the ongoing projects we have, and if there is anything that that we haven't captured, that we haven't clarified, that we haven't organized. So we ask the kind of GTD questions about some things, and then we're done. Because then later everything else happens in these tasks and in these comments and in these projects. So the meeting serves as a place to talk to people, to make sure that we are on the same page as a team, and then to talk about the new ones, the things that somebody might have missed, might not have written up, something that might be missing.
And you make an important thing. You said the meeting start with being human. Okay, you don't start the meeting with, okay, no, we meet with, let's connect, let's have that opportunity to be human, to be cool, to shoot the breeze. That is very important because the communication now can happen before. You are coming here to solve this, okay, dude? But I'm not saying, even, I'm saying the future is human, okay? So I'm not saying ignore the human. I'm saying ignore the nagging, ignore the non-human, ignore the communication that can happen outside of this. Okay, for this episode, okay, we could have 3 meetings, okay, and discuss. Okay, this is, or we could have a NOSBI task. Again, this is a discussion. This is what we're thinking. Done. Okay, we don't need to have the 3 meetings. Okay, why? We can have the discussion, as you said, the discussion, let's have it. And then when we connect, hey, show me the Legos, show me this. That's powerful, okay? Because that's connecting as a human. But the communication can happen much better, much more effective in a different way. The problem is we confuse the meeting with productivity. We confuse being there from from doing the work. No, no, doing the work is progress. Doing the work is getting things done, deciding, clarifying, organizing. That's not doing the work. It's important, need to happen, but that's not doing the work. And that's why you need to understand how to make this and make it clear. Because if we make a meeting right now, okay, and you bring Magda, okay, and we have no clarity, okay, and I'm thinking, oh, well, we're going to talk about this episode, and you're thinking we're going to talk about this other idea, and Magda is thinking about a third thing, okay, we are going to spend the next 30 minutes trying to align that if we're lucky. Okay. If we are not lucky, we are going to have three conversations, getting to nowhere until somebody said, okay, this meeting is over because I need to jump. So let's reschedule this. Okay. And that experience is the experience that most people have in the meetings. You know,
Mhm.
I train my clients to this and I've done this. Okay. Doesn't matter who is on the meeting. The moment I look at somebody in the meeting that I think his time is over in the meeting, okay, kick it out. Okay. Oh, you don't want to, oh, I don't want to be rude. I had a client once told me, I don't want to be rude. And people thinking, then give them the option. Tell them, hey, this is what we needed you for this meeting. You are free to stay, but if you have more important things to do, feel free to leave. Most people will leave because they need to do work. Otherwise, they spend the 6 hours in meetings and trying to do the work later. But you need to understand at every time as you're trying to have an agenda, assuming you have one, that's a key one, okay, and you are capturing that you are not doing probably. The third thing is who is in this meeting and why.
Mhm.
And if that person should not be there because he's not needed, because he's already exposed to what we need or answer the question, hey, bye-bye. Okay, if we need you again, we can call you back. But there is no need for you to spend another half an hour sitting on here things. I'm assuming you have things to do and you're busy. Go. That it's a very important, but comes back to that clarity. Okay. Even think about this. If you look at the 20 employees of Nuspi, okay, you will find that engaging or AKA doing the work, it happened in 20 different ways.
Yeah.
Okay. And it has nothing to do with the people. I'm not saying there is one better than the other. That's not what I'm saying. What
Mhm.
I'm saying is doing the work happen in 20 different ways.
Yeah.
Each person in that team has a different way to do the work. And you need to be very clear into that, into what is the expectation. So those 20 different styles can converge.
Mhm.
If you think, oh, people should do the work like I do, then you are toast.
Completely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think when you have this transparency, when you have all these projects, tasks, and comments, and then you learn how people work, you can learn how they engage with work, and you can learn how differently they act. Also, I think when you comment on a task, because it's a written comment, as you mentioned, it goes through Nozbe servers and all that stuff. But the cool thing is that then you learn to write in a way that you're not shouting at people, you're not being hurtful, you're not being pissed off all the time. Like you can like compose yourself. So it's I think it brings the best of people, to be able to
Yes,
communicate like this. It brings the best of you, because you know that even if your day is crap, you have to make sure that you don't translate this too much to everyone else, because this comment that you write today in anger might be read tomorrow when you're not angry anymore. And then August, I cannot hear you now. Suddenly I couldn't hear you.
Try it again.
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Now I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
How about now?
Say something.
Hello? Hello?
Oh yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Now it's good.
I can hear you now.
Hmm.
Okay. That's not just somebody who is editing this podcast hate me for a moment.
Oh yes.
Okay. I lost train of thought of what I was saying. I apologize.
Okay. Augusto, let's start wrapping up this podcast because it's been a long conversation.
Well, but before we drop it up, let's talk about the I would say the challenging or the most challenging one, that is the review. Because we have
Yeah.
talked a lot about engaging, doing the work, but what happened with review? And what happened with review in a team world?
Yeah.
Because when David Allen wrote, the weekly review, and I've been a proponent from the big review for years, and I told people I have shared my weekly review experience for years. It happens is Beethoven, Ninth Symphony, Berlin Philharmonic, and von Karajan as director, as loud as I can in my ears. Okay, I do a latte. Okay, and I only do lattes to think. Okay. Normally, what I drink is decaf espresso. So I only do lattes when I'm going to think. And it's part of the ritual for this. I had a client who working, this was very early in my career, where he struggles. And I said, why? Well, I don't know. And then we get there and say, take your shoes off. And I was like, what do you mean? Say, you are not relaxed. Relax. What do you do to relax? You say, well, I take my shoes off. Well, take your shoes off. Problem solved. I remember you and I had this conversation many months back because your struggle with the weekly review was the timing. Okay, you were doing it on a time that your brain were more thinking on the weekend than the business. And then when you come back, it was not really complete and you change it. Okay. So weekly review, it's a very interesting thing, but it's essential because it is like cleaning up. It is really going back to find what happened in the last 2 weeks that you may have missed, or in the last week, and what's coming ahead of you that you need to be aware. Okay. But it's the mistake is, oh, let's make this a team thing. No, 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 no. Because again, as we said, engage, do the work is every person will do it differently.
Yeah.
Weekly review too.
Mhm.
What the weekly review allows you in a team environment is go and check. And what is important is to know when is the other person weekly review. Because if my weekly review is on Thursdays, okay, and yours is on Friday, okay, what you are getting from me on Thursday is a ton of what is happening with this, what is happening in this, what is happening in this.
Yeah.
Okay. And your answer will be, I don't know until tomorrow. I don't know until tomorrow. I don't know until tomorrow. Okay. So that part is important. Ideally, in the perfect world, you will align and set everybody in this company from 3 to 5 do weekly review. That's great. But we go back to the 4 things: context, time, energy, and priorities. Okay. Sorry, if at 2 p.m. on a Friday you're dead, or you are, that like happened to you. You know what? The problem is on Friday at 2 p.m. Okay. I have 3 girls, okay, a family, and I'm thinking on how we're going to handle all this craziness the next 48 hours. I don't have the bandwidth to think about a strategic work. I need to have that call at 1 p.m. on Monday. Great. Then you need to have that clarity, but you need to have that review. The weekly review may be the most important thing in the week in the getting things done. Because you know what? If you capture crappy, okay, clarify crappy, organize crappy, and do crappy, but do a good review, the number of things that will fall to the crack are reduced very, very significant.
Oh yes, so much. Like the weekly review is so important for our team that we have established that we have changed the way we work because of that. Like, we are famous on the internet for working 4 hour 4 day work week, which is not technically true, because a 4 day work week means we work only 4 days on the day-to-day tasks.
Right.
Friday, we don't work on day-to-day tasks. Friday, everyone in my company has to do weekly review. This is the main thing. And of course, some people do a bit better job at this, some people forget, some people don't do it. Like, it's normal, but most people do it because it's Friday for that. And on Friday, you're not supposed to work on day-to-day tasks. On Friday, after you've done a weekly review, you can treat yourself with just working on whatever you want. Like, on yourself, on your personal development. So you can, watch a course. If you go to nosby.com/Friday, there is like the whole explanation why we did it. And honestly, I cannot imagine going back to not having a Friday like this. Like, having a Friday like this is perfect. Like, it gives me the bandwidth to work on my stuff, to improve my shortcuts for my iPad, to improve, like, to dig deeper into some things that are interesting to me, but I wouldn't have time for them otherwise. So it's really, like, for me, Friday, for that, it's amazing. And in my company, it's amazing as well. The only downside is what you mentioned, is that when we are doing the weekly review at the same time, sometimes the tasks get bounced back, so the only, like, I would say, don't count on having incoming 0 or activity 0 at the end of the weekly review, because somebody else will bump the activity or the incoming numbers, because they're also doing a weekly review. But the most important for you is that you have the clarity for next week. So the idea of a weekly review is that on Monday you have a plan. You know what you're going to work on Monday. You don't have to show up on Monday thinking, what I'm going to do today. Like, you already know what you're going to do, and you're not waiting for the fires. You're not waiting for the input from other people. You have a plan. You have a plan for Monday and for the whole week, basically. So. Right now, I was discussing this with the team, that maybe we should reconsider that next week is also a date. So this way, you can schedule something for next week, which doesn't mean it's Monday. It means, like, it's next week. It's sometime next week. I want to do
Right.
this. So we're right now considering this feature in Nozbe, and we want to try it, how it would work, because there are many things that I want to do them next week, but I'm not sure when next week. And I want to have them, again, pull, not push. I want to have them as an option for me. So for now, I have a tag called next week, which I use, but we're thinking of doing something like this.
See, but it's very interesting what you share, because what you're telling the listeners is, at some point in the Nozbe evolution, okay, you saw that not as a cost, not as an expense, but as an asset. And when you saw that as an asset, then you set up for the company. Okay, this is the weekly review time, and this is the time that you have to improve yourself, to learn about the application. Yeah, to learn about this, to learn about the things that you are interested, even to set up a meeting with somebody who knows more than you about this feature and say, hey, can I show you Friday afternoon, and we can do a one-on-one, not on working on the project, but you teaching me how can I do the chat better in Nozbe? How can I? And that asset pay dividends over and over and over, because then what you are making is, Stephen Covey said, sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
Okay. What you are describing is sharpening the saw. Okay.
Mhm.
You saw that was not, but you are not looking at that as an expense. You are looking at that as an asset for Nozbe.
Mhm.
And that asset, again, has paid dividends over and over and over and over. And the team gets Monday morning with an axe that is fully sharp, that is ready to go. And that really make a difference on the speed that things move.
Mhm. Yes. So it's like, I remember like it was 2016 when I realized when I was doing it, after a few like shallow weekly reviews, I decided to do like a deep one and really go through all the projects really deeply. And then I realized, and in these projects, we have tasks that have been abandoned for like a half a year, like things that haven't been touched in months. And then I asked my team, when did you do your last weekly review? And everybody has gone just silent completely. And I was like, no, this cannot be. Like, we cannot, like, as a productivity company, as a company building a productivity tool, we have to make sure that we have time for weekly review. Hence
Well,
the strategic decision to do it on Fridays.
and there is something important that I think most people need to understand. Most companies today are really a technology company.
Yeah.
Okay? If you think banks are technology companies. If you think groceries, sorry, there is nobody. Okay, all that is work on servers, IT. Most companies has more IT than anything else.
Yeah.
So when you said we are a productivity company, no. You are a technology company who happens to deal in the world of productivity.
Hmm.
Okay. But as a technology company, you need to have these things. Okay. It's the same way you restore a server once in a while so the server works well. The same. You need to have the server. Restore of a computer or a server is no different than a weekly review. It's basically cleaning up all the scars, all the dismiss so you can work really effective and really efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's really like it's really important, like at the end of the day, to not think about getting things done as an individual thing, but to think like, what's the productivity, what's the getting things done, how do we do it with others, how do we do it in our organization. So as you said, like things have to be codified, things have to be like agreed upon and renegotiated later. No problem to renegotiate things, so no decisions are final. But and I think using tools like Nosby, when you have transparent communication, when you have open projects for everyone to the team, and then their tasks and comments, this also helps others, motivates others to get things done better, to work better, to build trust in the team. So I think this kind of situation really supports um, modern teams, and modern teams should, in my opinion, focus on like narrowing down the channels of communication, making sure that communication happens next to the tasks, because this way you know what people should be working on, and really support one another, and uh, make meetings not a default situation, but as something that is optional, as we say, optional, regular, and well prepared. So something that is there, but it's not overused. So anything else you would add, Augusto?
Well, I will add something that I share with my clients before hitting the next meeting. Ask if this could really be solved via text,
Hmm.
via message exchange, and I get it. Part of the problem is you don't have that tool.
Hmm.
And you don't want to put it in Teams because it's going to get lost. You don't want to put it, in email. I get that. But that's where are you having those communications? And
Hmm.
if you don't have it, then that's the tool that you may need. I will tell you go to Nosme, but that's the tool that you need. Where can you have, or how can you work with the tools you have to have those communications? Do you really need that meeting, or this can be solved faster, better in a in an exchange conversation that will happen asynchronous?
Exactly. So, Augusto, thank you so much for this conversation. I think we went through the whole GTD process, GTD with others, basically. Thank you so much for taking your time and discussing this with me. And again, I would like to remind everyone that Augusto, he's a productivity expert, a GTD enthusiast, but also he is he has consulting clients where he's helping others get things done. And of course, his latest attempt to codify what he's all about is his new book, which is coming in just a month, the No Email Guide to Nozbe.
See, the only thing you left out was that I've been an OSPI expert since, I forgot, 2-3 years. I forgot since when.
Exactly. So Augusto is a certified Nozbe expert as well, and he's as part of our experts team. And yeah, Augusto, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a blast, and I hope this has been very useful for everyone trying to build a productive team.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for being an amazing listener of the No Office podcast. Every other Wednesday, we meet to talk about productivity and hybrid lifestyle because we believe that work is not a place to go. It's a thing to do. It's a special gift only to No Office podcast listeners. When you sign up for Nozbe using this link, nozbe.com/podcast, you'll get $30 of credits, which you can use to upgrade to Nozbe Premium. Nozbe helps thousands of smart business owners and their teams get their professional and private life organized in a single app in a simple way. And Nozbe is free for up to 3 active projects and 3 people on your team. So start today and claim your free bonus credits, which you will later need to upgrade to unlimited projects. Once again, thank you for being an amazing listener. Thanks for your support and for spreading the word about our No Office podcast and Nozbe. See you and hear you in the next episode, and in the meantime, claim your bonus credits here.